Indiana with a shot to move on as they'll take on Penn State tonight, but that's not going to be easy because Penn State played very well against Michigan last night in their win over the Wolverines.
Yeah, and Ace Baldwin has killed Indiana this year. They hit 12 threes in Bloomington, and then at Penn State, they hit 26 of 30 from the foul line. And one of their biggest advantages is they turn teams over. And so not sure if Galloway will play. He's one of the ball handlers, facilitators. Indiana's going to have to figure out how to handle that pressure. Penn State turned Michigan over, I think, 11 or 12 times in the first half yesterday. So Indiana did not have Xavier Johnson in the two games against Penn State. So, hopefully he's one of the difference makers there for them. But if they can handle pressure and stay out of foul trouble, I think those would be the two keys into advancing.
Yeah, 66-57 was the final score in that game, and not exactly a high-scoring game, as Penn State has been known to put the ball up this year. Penn State is just 16-16 right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's after the win.
Yeah.
They were under 500. So we're sitting here talking about a team that has beaten Indiana the last 4 times, and they went into this thing with a losing record, which is mind-boggling. It really makes you scratch your head about Indiana. It's like they were able to feast on bottom feeders, but the middle of the pack schools, I'm not going to say ate their lunch. Some of them did. They got back to some of them, and then they couldn't handle any of the upper level schools.
Yeah.
Indiana has got to find guard play that will allow them to succeed. And I don't have information regarding this, but there's a lot of talk about the availability of Trey Galloway. We do not know. There's a lot of rumor floating around. It's this or that. People, I've seen it everywhere. You've seen it, talking about a potential meniscus tear. Again, that is a complete rumor. I'm not saying it's not true, but it's a rumor until it's confirmed. Mm-hmm. But if it's just a tear, not a complete tear, I've got that right now. They generally don't surgically repair those unless they tear completely through. If it's a partial tear, then it's just painful. I can tell you that from experience. But playable, that's something you can play with. And I wouldn't even know the potential of how much it really is. But the fact that he came out of the last game and didn't play, well, that was not a good sign.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously, if anything that keeps him out for any time there, even in the previous game, it was a very painful injury. So not a whole lot of time here. 3-4 days later, if it's something that he can play through without risking further injury, I got a feeling he would try it if that's possible. But you also wonder about you can never question the kid's toughness, but you would wonder about mobility and being able to play against a lot of pressure that Penn State's going to bring. So maybe something he tries it and see how it goes. But again, we don't really know and won't know until tonight. But that would obviously be a huge loss if he's out. They'd have to have Leal step up. May not have Walker playing as well. So you may have a rotation of 7, including Anthony Leal, and you better hope that there's no foul trouble from that.
Yeah, and so the Penn State team, they've got some shooters on that squad as well that gave Indiana fits in both of the games, but especially in the last one. What does Indiana need to look forward to in this round?
Well, I know that they try to attack the bigs in the high pick and roll, and then from there, they try to hit the corners, or they got a couple guys that can create up top. Penn State has actually been kind of average in threes against the rest of the conference, but as you said, they just absolutely torched Indiana. So maybe they'll have a bit of tired legs playing one game. Of course, some of these teams will have to play multiple games in a row if they want to go deep here, but Indiana's got to get to shooters, as they have been doing a better job of lately. I feel like it's a different team since the last time these two teams met. But again, a lot hangs in the balance with Galloway's availability.
Well, Penn State is going to put the pressure on Indiana, and Indiana has had a penchant for turning the ball over this season, not just against a full court press. They've had tons of turnovers that have seemed to account for a lot of points off. Every time that Indiana seems to have that high number of turnovers, I look and boy, the points off of turnovers are also high for their opponent. That was the same for Michigan State, although they were able to get away with that. But the Penn State is going to bring the pressure.
Yeah, and I saw even after the game yesterday, Penn State guards talking about how, teams don't try to dribble through our defensive trapping and what they try to do. So, Indiana's got to be obviously very aware of it. They'll have a ton of film. They've seen them. But I feel like a good number is, I'd say maybe 10 or less turnovers has got to be a goal because, Penn State, I think they're second in the conference in turning teams over. So even that number of 10 or 11 is going to be a challenge for the Hoosiers, but it's going to be needed because obviously if Penn State can get it going against them, if you give them some free points off turnovers, it's going to be a tougher night for you.
They're playing against arguably the best all-around player in the Big Ten, and Ace Baldwin. I know everyone thinks Mount Edie is that, but Mount Edie is what he is at 7'4". Ace Baldwin is a baller who's going to find a way to play in the NBA. But he is the defensive player of the year in the Big Ten, but he's also a big help on offense as well. He's a troublemaker. I don't mean that by he causes havoc is what I mean by troublemaker.
Havoc maker. Yeah. Yeah. He's a good one. And this time of year, this is March, you think about guards win games, and hopefully in the near future, Indiana will figure that part out as well. And so that way makes a team like Penn State dangerous when you've got one of those good guards. They got a couple, but especially him. And honestly, even if it's with friends filling out brackets for a tournament, I'm looking at guard play. Like, what do these teams have? Do they have some guards that can light it up? And he's one that Hoosiers will have to contain. Otherwise, Penn State can be a lot more dangerous than their record would dictate.
Yeah, and whether or not they have Trey Galloway, even if they do, will he be the Trey Galloway that has been a gigantic part this season and become Indiana's biggest facilitator with a averaging high assists each game here as the season has gone along. A high of, what do you have? A high of 12 in one game?
Yeah, and he had 3 of the last 6 games. He's had 11, and 12, I think. So
that's just crazy.
Yeah.
But that you can't take that away and have the same success. Not only Indiana, they were on kind of a roll. Trey Galloway, unfortunately it took them all season, but they were really in sync. Trey Galloway with Kellel Ware. Those two, that tandem has really been getting it done. And Kellel Ware, he's been playing spectacularly. He needs to pick it up at the free throw line, but he has been playing lights out for Indiana, and that is going to need to continue. Malik Renew is going to have to step up, and Mackenzie Mbako, they're going to need him to continue to do what he's been doing. He's had a great last 6-7 games of the season, averaging like 16 points. His shooting has been off the charts. And now you add Xavier Johnson back to this equation, which really, if Trey Galloway's not available, that's going to really disrupt the flow, because with Trey Galloway and Gabe Cupps, that was a manageable matchup. But with Xavier and Gabe Cupps, the speed is so much different. Xavier is going to get the ball up the floor faster. And I'm not sure what Gabe Cupps is going to be left to do other than play defense. And maybe
Yeah,
that will be his main role.
And hopefully Johnson can at least contain Baldwin, because again, he didn't play in those matchups. So I think this game will probably be similar to some of the earlier games in the year, where because of the 3-point difference at times and some of the other things, the turnovers, Indiana might need an elite performance from both bigs. And if they get that, they can absolutely advance. But your margin for error is so slim in some of the other areas, if things aren't going your way, that you may have to have really, really big numbers from Ware and Renew. We know they're capable. Got to stay out of foul trouble.
Absolutely, they do. That's the last thing they can afford, because we've seen the depth has been. Mike Woodson has shortened his bench. Caleb Banks is in the witness protection program. So that's obviously, there's no way that his name's not going to be in the portal. I'm surprised he's not in the portal already.
Yeah.
I'll be quite honest with you. John, obviously you don't have to wait until your team's season is over, because earlier I talked about that LSU player, women's player that left their team to enter the portal.
Well, you can announce that you're going into the portal, but you can't officially be in it. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm surprised a little bit that Caleb Banks hasn't done that, to be honest with you. There's no way he's staying. He hasn't. I don't even know. I'd have to go back and do the research to look how many games it's been since he played. It has to be 10. I mean, totally disappeared. So you've got, there's somebody gone off the bench. But we're logged. We've got to take a break.